try to do whatever I could do to help the kid out, be the best player he can be. I try to give him everything and give him as much of the DNA as I could, because like I told you guys throughout the season, at some point when he was ready to take over the keys, I was ready to give them to him.
Nick, I feel like you've been asked this question. We've all been asked this question a million times. Will Kyrie Irving actually regret leaving LeBron? I mean, it sounds like...
Depends on what he wants to achieve. Like, that's I don't know Kyrie Irving personally. And so if his goal is to compete for the most championships as possible, then yes, of course. If you would have competed for a championship this year, you would have had then just figured out if LeBron's staying or leaving, and then you can figure out what you want to do when you're a free agent in 2 years. If the goal is to go try to be the best player on a team as early as possible, even if that team's not going to be competing for a championship, then no, I guess not. It is hard for me to concoct a scenario where someone doesn't regret leaving not only the best player in the league, but a guy that isn't a Kobe Bryant type, who's the best, one of the best players in the league, but also everything has to revolve around his, shooting the ball. LeBron's a distributor. LeBron's a leader. Like, I think he will. I think I would, but I also wouldn't have made the decisions Kyrie made. And so given that he made these decisions eyes wide open, stood by those decisions, went on television, defended those decisions, doesn't seem like he thinks he's going to regret it.
I don't think he's going to regret it because he forced the decision. I mean, it's got his name written all over it. As far from a basketball standpoint, he felt like he was going to grow more being out of Cleveland. Also, I would probably think in the back of his mind, he's wondering if LeBron's going to stay there past this year. And if LeBron leaves, then of course he was right, because he don't want to be in Cleveland without LeBron. I mean, he's already done that one before. Now, he wasn't the player that he is today, but when you talk about a young athlete taking control of his career, where he wants to go, where he wants to play, that's what he decided to do. So even if from a basketball standpoint, if he never wins another championship, him wanting to do that, he's going to have more of a sense of peace that he took control of his career. He helped orchestrate this trade. So even if he's not as successful as he would have been or compete for another championship, I think in his heart of hearts, not knowing him, that he's going to be satisfied with that, because that's what people do. People like to make their own decisions. And typically, people like to be right. Right, Nick? They like to be right about their decisions.
Go ahead, Jenna.
For the first time yesterday, I got a little bit of insight into what Kyrie was talking about, because I didn't understand any of the explanations Kyrie gave for why he left and how he left and what he was going to and what he was leaving. I didn't understand any of it. It didn't make sense to me. I love LeBron. I think he's fantastic. I love watching him play. I feel like we're in a special time. It's not often we can say we're watching one of the very greatest play. Like, you don't often get a chance to say that. It comes and it goes, and sometimes it's too late. But just watching LeBron talk about the kid, and I was going to hand him the keys, and the little guy and the little dude did this, and the kid, and it sounded, and I'm sure it wasn't intentional, it sounded very condescending. It sounded very, I've been in his shadow. Now you guys all see. This is why I wanted to leave. I don't know if I'm going to win anything, but I want to go get a chance at being able to do something without my big brother handing me the keys and holding my hand and calling me his little kid. And that's what I took away from the press conference.
By the way, you said you're sure it wasn't intentional. I think it was intentional. I mean, LeBron's not above being a little passive-aggressive. I think he kept calling him kid there on purpose, but he's not totally wrong.
But that's the way he refers to him, too. So it's not as if just because we're having the press conference that he's being disingenuous because he's calling him the same thing or referring to him the same way that he does. Not in the same sense, but I grew up in a great basketball family in Ohio. My brother was an NBA player. My other two brothers, they also went to college to play basketball. So there was a lot of pressure on me being the youngest boy to continue playing basketball, the Carter legacy. At that time, my brother Butch, Jerry Lucas, was the #1 scorer in my high school. My brother Butch was #2, and I was like #3, and my other brother George was like #5. So I felt the pressure to follow in my brother's footsteps. Now, I wanted to kind of go a different path, and that's the reason why I decided to go to Ohio State and play football. People were shocked because in high school, I was definitely a better basketball player than I was a football player. But I didn't want to be in my brother's shadow, and I kind of wanted to blaze my own trail. Now, I had the option of playing football, and it worked out for me. But there are times when you are a little brother that you do want to do things a little bit different. I don't think LeBron was being contrite or anything as far as referring to Kyrie that way, because I've heard him talk about him in that reference and used kid too many other times. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.